Hi everyone, my name is Ong Jia Xin. So in these presentations, I will demonstrate my global e-commerce sales 2024 data visualizations project, which is focusing on the revenue optimizations and the brand efficiency. In this slide, it provides an overview of my project and clearly outlines of the objective, the research questions, and the target audience. So first, the topic of this project is to analyze all the e-commerce trends, the revenue patterns, and the platforms efficiencies across the major markets. This is aimed to understand how the different platforms and the brands perform using the real transactions data. And next, I will explain the three research objectives. So the first objective is to evaluate the comparative efficiencies of competing the e-commerce platforms in terms of the revenue generation. And the second objective is to investigate whether there is a relationship between the product unit price and the customer ratings. And the third objective is to identify the dominant brands and the product categories that contribute to the most to the overall performance. So based on these three objectives, I have formulated the three research questions. So the first question is asked which platforms is produce the higher average transactions value, and the second question is examines the which brands is dominance the electronics and the fractions categories, and the third question is explore whether there is a correlationship between the product price and the customer ratings. So finally, the target audience for the project is e-commerce strategies directors and a sales manager. So these stakeholders is rely on the data-driven strategies insight to support the decisions related to the pricing strategies, inventory planning, and the platform prioritizations. So in this slide, I will explain about the data source used in my projects and the cleaning process that's carried out before analysis. So first, the dataset is called Global E-commerce 2024, which was obtained from the Kaggle. So the dataset is contents of 10,000 transactions records, which is collected across the six major cities. So the namely Cairo, Dubai, Riyadh, Alexandria, Giza, and Casablanca. So it was chosen is because the data set is large enough for the meaningful analysis and is highly relevant to the real-world e-commerce business transactions. So next, I will explain about the data cleaning and the pre-processing process, which was necessary to ensure the data was suitable for analysis and visualizations. So the first issue identified was the missing customer rating value. So since the customer rating is very important to analyzing the transactions, so removing these records will reduce the dataset size and the results. So therefore, the missing rating values was imputed using the global average rating, which is approximately 3.2, and this is allowed all of the transitions to remain in the analysis and while maintaining the statistical consistency. And the second processing step involved in the date normalizations. So the original date format, which is called order date, and variable was stored in the string format, which is limits the time series analysis. And to solve this, the date was converted into the ISO X601 date format, so it's enabling the table to correctly recognize the hierarchies such as the year, month, and date. Yeah, so overall these cleaning steps was ensure that the dataset was complete and consistent to analyze to visualize the data. So moving on to the data understanding, so these slides will explain about how the data is used in this project and the structures and what each of the key variable is represents. So the first variable is the platform, which refers to the e-commerce marketplace where the transactions occur such as the Amazon and the so. So this variable allows the comparisons of the performance of across the different platforms. And the next is the brand, which identifies the product manufacturer, for example, Xiaomi, Nike, or Samsung. So this helps analyze the brand dominance and efficiency. And the price represents the unit of each product, while the quantity indicates the number of units sold per transactions. And together, these two variables are used to calculate the revenue. And the customer rating is measured the customer satisfactions on a scale from the 1 to the 5, and which is essential for understanding the perceived of the product value. And finally, the revenue is calculated on a price multiplied by the quantity. So this is the main performance metrics to use to evaluate the perform efficiency and the brand performance and the overall sales trends. So I will explain more about the key findings and which is the visuals of the data insights in the next slide. So just now I have explained about the data understanding, and right now I will explain about the key findings, which is the visual of the data insights. So these visualizations is show the seasonal trends across the different product categories throughout the year, and from the line graph we can clearly see that the September and the November generate the highest revenue. So these peaks are mainly driven by the strong sales in the electronics, fashions, and wearables. So in September, there is a noticeable spike in the electronics revenue, which may be linked to the new product release and back to the work purchasing behavior. And in November, we can see that the revenue increased significantly in both fashions and electronics, which is likely due to the Black Friday and the pre-holiday shopping seasons. So on the other hand, the revenue drops in the months such as the February, indicating the lower consumer spending over the year because of the year-end holiday events. So this is insight is important is for the business decisions makers because it is a highlight where is the demand is a high and allowing the platforms to plan the inventory, promotions, and the marketing campaigns with more efficiency around the peak seasons. So this bar chart shows that the brand efficiency is based on the average transactions value, which is called the ATV. So from the visualizations, we can see that the Xiaomi in the electronic categories and the Adidas in the fashion categories that have the highest ATV values. So this means that these two brands is generate a high revenue per transactions compared to the other brands. And the high ATV is means that the customer is are willing to spend more per the purchase. So the positioning these brands as the premium or the high value brands within their respective categories. So in contrast, the brands with the lower ATV may rely on the higher sales volume, so rather than the high price transitions. So this insight is important for the business decisions makers because it helps to differentiate between the margin-driven brands and the volume-driven brands, so to allowing the platforms to design more effective the pricings, promotions, and the inventory strategies. So coming on to the last key findings, so this visualization is the engagement tree map, so which shows that the customer engagement across the product category and the brands. So the size of the each block is represent the weighted engagement score, which combine the customer ratings and with the review volumes. So from the tree map, we can see that the electronic category is the dominates overall the engagement. So within the category, Samsung has the highest weighted engagement score, indicating that the customer are not only highly satisfied but also actively engaging with the Samsung product through the reviews. So this suggests that the Samsung has the highest market presence with the high customer interactions within the electronic category. So other categories such as the fashions and accessories shows the moderate engagement, but they do not match the level seen in the electronic. So this insight is valuable for decision makers because it is a highlights which category and the brands which the drive generate customer engagement. So in the next slide, I will talk about more about the interactive or the features of using the table to present my dashboard. Right now, I will demonstrate the interactive dashboard developed for this project. So this is the Global E-commerce Executive Overview 2024 dashboard. So at the top, you can see the key performance indicator, including the total sales, the average order value, the top selling brand, and the executive summary of overall performance. So the dashboard is integrated by multiple visualizations, allowing the user to explore the trends and explore other platforms, the city, category, and the brand. So this is a stick bar chart shows that the total revenue performance by the platform and segmented by the city. So and here it'll be hard to see. We change to the entire sheet. So by default, all the city are selected. Okay, so we can see that the platform so is generate the highest total revenues, followed by the Jumia, and well, the Amazon performs relatively lower in these regional markets. So if I filter by all of the city, let's say we choose the Cairo and Riyadh. So okay, we can see that these two cities contributes a large share of revenue across all of the platforms, indicating the stronger purchasing power. So these interactions allow the decision makers to identify which platforms to perform the best in the specific regions. Okay, let's come back to our dashboard. Okay, we can see that the next, which is the line chart, shows that the promotion event by the shows that the seasonal revenue trends by the product category over the time. So we can observe that the clearly revenue peaks in the September and the November. Okay, so especially for the electronics and the fashions. So here a bit hard to see with same change to the entire sheet. Okay, so these spikes likely driven by the promotion event such as the product launch, the Black Friday, and the year-end shopping. So when I filter by the category, okay, so the trend will become clearer. So let's say I choose the electronics and fashion. Yes, these two. So when I filter by the category, so the trend will become clearer. So we're helping the business plan, inventory, and the marketing campaigns around the peak season. So we can see that even more clearly. Okay, and okay, let's come back to our dashboard. Okay, so this is the visualizations analyzed by the average customer rating by the price tier. So we can see that here we can see that the customer ratings do not increase linearly with the price. So the mid-range price tiers tend to have the lower ratings, while the premium price product receive the higher ratings. So indicating that suggesting that a value perception effect. So these interactions will help the manager to identify the pricing range where the customer expectations may be not to be met, and supporting the better pricing and the quality decisions. And next, we come back to the this chart. So this chart is the ranks the brands based on the average transactions value, which is called the ATV. So we can see that these brands, sorry, we can see that these brands are the Xiaomi and the Adidas. So these two brands have the higher ATV values, indicating the premiums margin-driven the brands. So the other brand shows that a lower ATV, but the higher quantities are sold, so indicating the volume-driven strategies. So this allows the managers to distinguish between the brands that drive the high margins versus the others brand that drive high sales volume. So next we go to this, which is called the disengagement tree map. So this engagement tree map is just that the weighted engagement score, which combine the customer ratings with the review volume. So the electronic category dominates the overall engagement, and within it, Samsung has the highest engagement score, indicating that the strong customer satisfactions and interactions. So these interactions will help identify the brands that generate the genuine customer engagements, not just a high rating with the low review counts. Okay, let's come back to our dashboard. So finally, the KPI the section summaries the key metrics. We have the total sales with the 300.2 million and the average order value with the 30,200 and our top selling brand, which is the Xiaomi. Okay. So this KPI is provided executive with an instant overview for the overview of the business performance without needing to explore the individual charts. Okay. So overall, this dashboard allows the user to interactively explore the performance trends and compare the platforms and the brands and uncover the insights that supports the strategies, decision making, and in the e-commerce. In this slide, I will explain about the challenges and the solutions that I have applied. So the first challenges that was the missing customer ratings, so which limited the customer satisfaction analysis. So this was resolved by replacing the missing value with the overall average rating to ensuring that all of the products remain included and comparison remain the meaningful. So the second changes that involve is the unrealistic pricing the value, which could distort the revenue and the platform performance analysis. So to address this, only transactions with the realistic the pricings were retained so that the revenue trends will reflect to the actual customer behavior. And the third challenge that was the raw data was not business friendly. So with the technical field like the names and the inconsistent data formats. So this was resolved by restructuring the data into the clear business friendly terms and standardizing the formats for the effective visualizations. So based on these insights, I propose the four key recommendations. So the first one, the e-commerce should adopt the localized market strategies. The customer preference, the purchasing powers, and the service expectations vary across the regions. So by tailoring the promotions and the payment methods and the delivery options to the high-performing cities such as the Cairo and the Riyadh, platforms can improve the customer engagement and the transactions values. And the second, the company should focus on a high impact the category, particularly like the electronic and the fashions, as these two categories generate the highest revenue and the customer engagement. So prioritizing the inventory availability and promotion efforts in this category can maximize the returns and during the peak seasons. And the third, business should shift towards a value-based pricing strategy. So the analysis is show that the higher price do not always lead to the higher customer satisfactions. So especially in the mid price range. So enhancing the perceived value through the better service, the product bundles, or the after sales support can improve the customer ratings and the loyalty. And finally, the platform should effectively utilize the customer feedback and review the analysis. Monitoring the review allows the company to identify the recurring issues such as the delivery delays, the product quality concerns, and the implement continues the improvement and ultimately strengthening to long-term customer relationships. So last but not least, we come to the final slide, which is the conclusions. So to conclude, this project successfully transformed the raw e-commerce transaction data into a clear and interactive executive dashboard that supports the data-driven decision making. So the key outcomes include the identifying the platform efficiencies difference and understanding the trade-off between the premium and the volume-driven brands and uncovering a non-linear relationships between the price and the customer satisfactions. So this insight is provide the practical value for the managers and in optimizing the pricing strategies, inventory planning, and the platform prioritizations. So from a learning perspective, so this project is strengthened my skills and in the data pre-processing and calculated field creations, and also in the dashboard storytelling, as well as my ability to translate complete data into the meaningful business insights. So for future improvement, incorporating additional customer level data such as the demographics, purchasing behavior, or the marketing campaign informations could further enhance the segmentation, personalized, and the predictive analysis. So overall, this project demonstrates how effective in the data visualizations can bridge the gap between the data and the strategy business decisions. So thank you for watching my presentations.